Where's the money? Yeah, you like that? That feel good? That feel good? Where's the money, man? Where's my money? You got till 5 o'clock. You hear me? You got till 5 o'clock.
Ooh boy, here we go. I've been trying to keep up on my video game coverage, at least one video a day, because even though they don't necessarily perform as good as all the other ones, you've all reached out to tell me that it's important and you want me to keep covering it, so I will. And I thank you for giving me that feedback. And thank you, Randy Pitchford, somebody whom I strongly dislike, for providing an absolutely Slimeball story today, which we can all dunk on him mercilessly. Before I get into the full story, sponsors aren't easy to find these days, and I would like to introduce this video sponsor. Huge shout out to Total AV. Thank you for sticking with me in these uncertain times. Huge shout out to this video sponsor, Total AV. You know, as all my fellow YouTubers seem to be in an unending defense against various cyber attacks, including malware, viruses, and phishing URLs, it made me think about just how important it is to have an antivirus still in 2020. These things affect all users of all computers and smartphones. In fact, many Mac users still feel like they're totally immune to that, when a recent report shows a nearly 260% increase in viruses and malware directed specifically at Mac computers. What is spyware? Well, along with malware and phishing URLs, they are the most common kind of threat you'll face. They secretly record your activity, harvest your data and personal information and surfing habits. They run in the background quietly, which is why you need an antivirus suite. Total AV protects you against all of these things. For you, the quartering subscribers, you can get a huge 80% off the 1-year premium package, which includes a VPN on up to 3 devices. Make sure you protect your PC or Mac today by getting Total AV now through the link in the description or pinned comment below. Now, if you're not aware of the deep lore of Randy Pitchford, he has a long history of being a bit of a slimeball, including having lawsuits against his former business associates, having promised large bonuses to employees, amongst other things, including his spicy thumbnail or thumb drive story that will just never ever go away.
The point was that I had this on the memory stick, and this was before I had learned that I should probably have password protected memory sticks.
Did I just do a noopsie again? I didn't know.
He loves doing his magic shows and pandering to the worst type of people, the type of people that hold video games to their own bizarre standards, the type of people that aren't beautiful on the inside and want everyone else to be ugly on the outside, the type of people that really just hate their lives and hate everything about themselves and want everyone else to do the same. Now, as Borderlands 3 is nearing 8 million copies sold, probably will finish up around 10 million after Steam picks up, there's some new news today. So, Take-Two Interactive announced that Borderlands 3 sales are nearing the 8 million copies mark. The news came during Take-Two's earnings report. Borderlands 3 launches for PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC launched in September. This is early February, so now we're into April, so it's probably closer to maybe 9 million. It's hard to say. When we look at the stock, not great. As they announced the 8 million in sales, their stock plummeted and continued to plummet and nearly bottomed out on March 20th, just a few days ago. Now it's started to climb back up, and Take-Two Interactive also runs 2K games and a wide variety of other software disasters, like their famous wrestling game, which was a mess. I checked Randy Pitchford's Twitter. He has me blocked. I have not seen him address this story. I wanted to give him a chance. This is the second time, by the way, that Borderlands 3 has been in the news. Just a few days ago, they took a bunch of heat for a new DLC that apparently is offensive because the guy that they drew inspiration from, H.P. Lovecraft, has had some bad opinions 100 years ago. So these are the same people, by the way, that are lambasting Randy Pitchford. He wanted them. These are the type of customers he pandered to. These are the same people upset that somebody 100 years ago had some backwards opinions about the planet. That's not what this video is necessarily about. Sources: despite huge sales, Borderlands 3 developers are getting stiffed on bonuses. This via Jason Schreier with the Rare Good news article. I was getting bored of Schreier whining about everybody having crunch. The video game Borderlands 3 was a big sales success when it launched last fall. According to its publisher 2K, which described it as a billion-dollar global brand, that's why it was shocking to Gearbox employees that the developer of the game, when the studio's CEO, Randy Pitchford, told them yesterday that they would not receive the significant royalty bonuses they have expected. This is not uncommon. A lot of times, developers will say, oh, you know, it has to receive a certain score on Metacritic, or they'll put all sorts of contingencies in there. Employees at the studio will get a small bonus check, but nothing close to the tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands that many had expected. This account is based on conversations with 6 people close to Gearbox, all speaking anonymously because they were not authorized to talk about what happened. Some said it was crushing news that has upended their financial plans for the future. Bonuses are tough. You know, when I was young, I had a job where I made 3 times as much in bonus than I did in my salary. And bonuses were taxed far more heavily, and you couldn't depend on them. So you could never really plan around them getting delivered. I planned my life. I learned very early on to live around my salary. And then if a bonus came, you know, I would pay something off. Pay off my credit cards, or pay off my truck, or pay off, you know, a big chunk of college debt or something like that. But a lot of people have to learn the hard way. And especially when most of these game developers and most companies that promote these gigantic bonus plans basically present them to you as if they're a virtual certainty. They'll say something like, well, Borderlands 2 did 10 million in sales. If we just hit 8 million, you're going to get this gigantic bonus. So they'll present it to you like it's a virtual certainty and then look for any possible way to skeeve out of delivering it. Gearbox, based in Frisco, Texas, offers its employees below average salaries for the video game industry, according to more than a dozen current and former Gearbox staff who have spoken to Kotaku. To make up for that, the studio offers something unique: profit sharing. Royalties from all the developers' games are split 60-40, with 60% going back into the company and its owners, while 40% distributed to the employees in form of quarterly bonuses. This is massive. The system has been in place since Gearbox's inception, and when the company has big hits, it can be lucrative. When 2012's massive Borderlands 2 came out, many Gearbox workers made enough money to buy houses, a fact that studios often touted when recruiting new employees. That's exactly what I said they would do, right? Since then, however, Gearbox has been struggling, failing to find much financial success with flops like Alien Colonial Marines and Battleborn in 2016. As a result, quarterly bonuses have been smaller in recent years. In 2020, that was supposed to change. Several Gearbox employees told Kotaku that the company management promised them 6-figure bonuses following the launch of Borderlands 3. The more years they'd been with the company, the larger the check. This vision of financial success helped Gearbox developers get through many long nights and weekends working on the game. Then, in a meeting yesterday, Gearbox boss Randy Pitchford told employees that Borderlands 3 bonus checks would be significantly lower than they had hoped. According to 3 people who were present, he said the game had been more expensive than expected. The company had grown significantly larger than it had been in the past and now operates in a second studio in Quebec, Canada, and that their sales projections had been off base. Now, the stock reaction to their earnings call would actually indicate that their stocks may be, and that the earnings were lower. Maybe you shouldn't have released as an Epic exclusive. I'm not going to say I told you so, but...
But first, a deep sip from a very tall glass of I told you so.
Oh my God, please, Dad, come on!
It's interesting that when you had your earnings call in February, we saw the stock basically tank. Is it unrelated? Maybe. Is it related? Probably. The game had sold very well. Quote, "We expect lifetime unit sales to be a record for the series." Strauss Zelnick, CEO of 2K. But it costs way too much to make One large factor was a technology swap midway through development from the Unreal Engine 3 to Unreal Engine 4, which added a great deal of time to the project. In addition, before Gearbox could receive any royalties from publisher 2K, Borderlands 3 would have to recoup not just the game's entire budget, which was nearly $100 million, but also the budget for all the downloadable content, closer to $140 million, thanks to a contract the two companies had signed. Pitchford told Gearbox developers that if they weren't happy with the royalty system, they were welcome to quit. According to those who were in the meeting, he did not attribute the diminished bonuses to anything going on in the world right now, which has led to economic uncertainty and pay cuts in many other fields. My wife is laid off, and she's in the healthcare industry. When asked for comment, Gearbox sent over this. Borderlands 3 represented incredible value to gamers, and incredible achievement by the team at Gearbox. Our studio is talent-led, and we believe strongly in sharing that profitability. The talent at Gearbox enjoys participation in upside of our games, to our knowledge, the most generous royalty program in AAA. Since the program began, Gearbox talent has earned over $100 million in royalty bonuses above and beyond traditional compensation. In the most recent pay period, Gearbox talented enjoyed news that Borderlands 3, having earned revenue exceeding the largest investment ever made by a company into a single video game, had officially become profitable video game. Wow. 8 million copies had to be sold to make enough money to offset the cost of the game. That's some big budget. Now has earned their first royalty bonus on the profit on that profit. Additionally, a forecast update was given to talent at Gearbox that participates in the royalty bonus to set expectations for the upcoming quarters. Gearbox is a private company, so they didn't say anything. Gearbox last year, Gearbox lawyer Wade Callender became entangled in an ugly legal battle with the studio. In one said suit, he alleged that Randy Pitchford had taken a $12 million bonus in 2016 when development started on Borderlands 3. The bonus did exist, according to two people who not with knowledge of what happened, but it came out of the company's 60%, not the 40% of the profits that were meant to go to the employees. Still, yesterday's news combined with the word of Pitchford's hefty bonus has upset a number of Gearbox employees, some of whom say they expect an exodus in the near future. Those who made financial plans based on the expectations set by the company's management now find themselves in tough spots. Yikes. Not exactly premium behavior that you would expect from somebody who cares so much about things like pronouns like Randy Pitchford. Absolutely disgusting AAA greed. The people at the top of these companies make numbers that would boggle anybody's mind, and the only reason they do it is all the people below them working the long nights, working the extra hours. And you have to follow through on your word. This is truly despicable EA levels of villainy. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you have a terrible day, Randy Pitchford. We'll talk to you again real soon.